Peace. What's up, y'all? It's your boy, Phil, Soul of a Nerd. Phil Deepers, you can call me today. And I'm back with a review. A little late getting this one in. And in fact, it's Thursday, so we're almost ready for Friday and a brand new episode 7, I guess, of WandaVision. So here's my review and thoughts on episode 6. First of all, if you've seen my other videos or if you're looking at this for the first time, well, watch this video first and then, click like and comment and subscribe to the Soul of a Nerd channel. Got more content coming, but right now I'm just in the midst of doing weekly reviews on WandaVision. And I'll be doing hopefully the same thing with all the Disney Plus Marvel Cinematic Universe shows, amongst other things, like Justice League, Zack Snyder Cut, and all that kind of stuff. So, let's just jump right into this. It's funny because I'm realizing now, recently, like the last couple episodes, I would say, that I have found myself needing to go and watch the episode for a second time to really gain appreciation for it. Because, again, at first, I said this about either the last episode or the one before that. At first viewing, I wasn't crazy about the episode. Whereas, for whatever reason, as odd as it is, like the first and second, well, definitely the second episodes together, I was fine with them. And then the third episode, I was really into. And it seemed like that was the one that was the shortest because it was so good. Or no, the fourth one felt like it was the shortest because it was so good. That's the one where we got to see Monica through the blip and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so let's just get into this one. So I went and watched it the second time. I mean, when I saw it the first time, I kind of felt like this was a step back from the previous episode where it ends with Pietro at the door, which you're going to see me doing a lot of this, and I'm going to talk about that. At the door, that was a good episode. But, at first viewing, this next one felt like it was a step backwards. But I watched it again and threw all of that out the window. So what I'm realizing is that's probably because this is actually a credit to the show that it's so, I don't want to say fast paced, but it's because it's well paced, but it is so much kind of like going on, and some of it is so nuanced and subtle, which is dope. I mean, why not make stuff like that? It's like, I'm a music producer. It's like, why not make things to the point where it makes a person have to listen to it again to decipher and to find new things to appreciate about it, you know what I mean? Which really, that's kind of been the MCU in general. Even, I've always been a person, pretty much have watched MCU movies multiple times. The only movies I haven't watched multiple times is Iron Man 3, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Captain Marvel. And as of yet, I haven't watched Far From Home more than once. Every other movie in the MCU I have watched multiple times. You understand what I'm saying? Out of 23 movies, like only 4, what did I say? Both the Ant-Man movies, Iron Man 3. Well, I can't even say that. I've seen Iron Man 3 twice. Once in the theaters, and when it came out on DVD, I bought it and watched it, and haven't watched it really again since then. I've watched Iron Man 2 more than Iron Man 3. But anyway. So yeah, that's a pretty good track record. One, because of the replay value, and again, because I've often watched again just to appreciate some of the little moments in there. So that's really what's happening with these shows. So I'm already realizing and resigned myself to the fact that I'm going to watch these episodes twice when they come out. You know what I mean? It's like, that's kind of what you got to do. I didn't do that with the first 2, but I think the first 2 were a lot slower. You know what I mean? Which, again, had its pros and cons. But if this was the way they planned it, again, salute, because it's working. By the way, the show is supposedly the #1 TV show in the world or the nation or something like that, due to this weekly format, in my opinion, and because it's good. So, yeah, watching it the second time, way more appreciation for it. So to me, I still don't like it better than the previous episode, and I don't like it better than the episode before that, where, like I said, we got really filled in on the outside world, outside of the Hex, and Monica's background and all that stuff. That's probably still been my favorite episode so far, and it was actually maybe the shortest one, but it definitely felt like the shortest one. So right away, I'm just going to hit on the major things here. Let me just start with Pietro. My theory, point blank, is that now, first of all, I also mentioned probably in one of my previous videos that I was not crazy about the idea that they would bring in Evan Peters from the Fox X-Men to portray Quicksilver. And I also, based that on the fact, unless they had a real good reason, a creative way to reason why they would do that, I may be in a minority, but I preferred Aaron Taylor Johnson's Quicksilver. I mean, yes, Fox X-Men Quicksilver had his little moments in their movies with the slow motion running was dope. But like outside of that, his character, I mean, he was like comic relief, and it was okay, but I just felt like there was more potential with Aaron Taylor Johnson's. And personally, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, he could have become a little bit of a wisecracker of some sort of comedic relief because he had a little snarky attitude anyway. But they killed him, which I still, wish they wouldn't have done that. Maybe, who knows, there's a way to bring him back through this craziness that Wanda's doing, but probably not. I mean, it would be dope if by the end of the series, like, somehow he appears as Quicksilver, but I don't think it's going to happen. It looks like they're one and done with him. Anyway, so the good of this is now I do feel like there was a good reason to bring Evan Peters in, and I don't even think we totally get it yet or totally understand what's happening, but what we see so far, whatever direction they're going in, it's like, okay, well, that, even if I don't know what direction y'all going, even what I see so far is like, okay, that was a clever move. Again, when they're doing the double thing of the sitcom trope, but it's also having a purpose within the MCU in this storyline. So the MCU, I mean the sitcom trope, which he like basically they did this episode like one of those fourth wall breaking sitcoms, which is really more like not the 90s, because they've been jumping decades and they were on the 80s in the previous. I guess it was kind of late 80s, partial 90s, even though it felt like Family Ties to me. But I guess you could call it Family Ties plus Full House, as I had mentioned, I think, in my last video. Again, shout out to the other Olsen sisters. So, and Full House was into the 90s, as well as like Family Matters, that type of, which were produced by the same company. So, yeah. So maybe they felt like they could jump to the 2000s, because this episode like had that Malcolm in the Middle. Was it Malcolm in the Middle that had that? Yeah. No laugh track, break the fourth wall, talk to the audience as the story goes along type thing. Well done again. Just so the intro, opening to the episode, all that stuff, cool. So yeah, it's like based on that, his character being the brother who shows up, who's a little bit of a bad influence and wild child, whatever, which really is almost like Uncle Jesse from Full House. So again, I almost would have thought that they were going to do that when it was rumored he was going to be in this show, that they would have brought him in to be an Uncle Jesse for a Full House type episode. Instead, they did it this way. So, but yeah, so that's the sitcom version of why he's there. But there's a bigger reason. So let's get into that. It's like right off rip, you can just tell there's something off about him, which to me suggests that Wanda, and I think she's recognizing that she's not really in control, or there are things happening that she's kind of assuming are part of her powers and how she was able to create Westview, this bubble hex, in the first place. But he's like he's like an X factor here, because you can tell she's like, doesn't think she actually did that, but she's convincing herself, and he's lightweight trying to convince her that, yeah, this was just something you wished up, you know. So right there, I'm just like, and it's so, it's, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I mean, I just feel like that's where it is, and it's so good the way that they're doing this. Because I'm on other YouTube channels and Facebook pages and discussions where people are totally missing this, which is cool. I don't even try to be the person to try to tell them, because I could be wrong anyway. But it's like, this is why I can document it here, my theory. But it's like, people are totally missing that. Like, y'all don't see the sketchiness of this dude. Like, people are debating whether he's a proof that there's a multiverse and that the Fox X-Men are now MCU, canon, and that they're going to be considered now an actual thing that happened within the MCU. You got other people saying, no, it's definitely, Pietro from Age of Ultron. He just has a new look, which I'm just like, neither one of those makes sense. If you think about it, neither one of those makes sense, even from a standpoint of why would Kevin Feige authorize or want that, or why would they write that? Like, none of that makes sense to me. And I'm not going to go into reasons why. It just doesn't make sense. Well, here, briefly, the X-Men from Fox thing doesn't make sense because they're not going to ever acknowledge that crap. Most of it was crap. Or half of it was crap, which is too much. Over like 20 years. That's too much. Yeah, they're not going to acknowledge that. Trust me, that's just not going to happen. Secondly, as far as him actually being a reincarnated but different looking Aaron Taylor Johnson version, that doesn't make sense, because why would he look different? You know what I mean? Why would she, unless you go back to that other theory that it's like she merged them by pulling one from a different universe, but he still now is living as her brother. You see what I'm saying? That she knows. And again, it's kind of weird because she's not more concerned with the fact this dude don't look the same and don't act the same, and just, I mean, that's not her brother, you know what I mean? Nothing about him is like her brother. Which, in a way, to me, that's a little bit of a plot hole, but I think we got a little taste of it's not going to stay that way, and probably more in the next episode, that her suspicions about him will grow the same way I think Vision's suspicions, well, not I think, but obviously Vision's suspicions about Wanda are being elevated in this episode. So, yeah, I just don't see that making any sense for them to do that. So my personal thought is they got Evan Peters because it's a Easter egg nod in just oh shit moment that they used the Quicksilver from another movie. And he's basically acting like the Quicksilver from the other movies. So it's meta in the sense that, yes, if you watched both franchises, both studios' versions of, you've been following X-Men in movies, you recognize this character. But as far as the MCU is concerned, they don't give a crap. It's not meant to be that guy in the MCU. It's just a fan service moment, if that makes sense. But again, I think some people just, I don't know, some geeks, I mean, I'm a geek and I'm a nerd, but only to an extent. Like, I just can't let my little fanboy dreams, which this wouldn't even be one, drive me to believe something like, oh, this is proof that the Fox X-Men, yeah, they exist in the MCU. It's like, no, because first of all, first of all, his name was Peter in the X-Men movies. He wasn't Sokovian. He had a younger sister, who they hinted at in those movies. Actually, it was two. So, we never got to see what was going to happen with that. You see what I'm saying? His father was, I think, about to be proven to be Magneto. So, you know what I mean? Remember they went and visited him in the freaking 70s or something like that? So that, maybe it wasn't a set, but you know what I'm trying to say. Like, that dude wasn't a Sokovian. He wasn't Pietro. So he's not going to then somehow be him, but now he's Wanda's brother. It's like, what are y'all talking about? So that's just nonsense to me. So this is my point is I think he's there as fan service. That's it. But in the sense that they would use the former actor from Fox's X-Men, that's a fan service. Now, why is he there, Quicksilver, in using someone else other than Aaron Taylor Johnson? That's what you should be looking at. Why would they have somebody other than Pietro that we know from Age of Ultron? Why would he be in this show as her brother? Which, again, the great moment at the end of the previous episode where Darcy's like, she recast Pietro. So it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, everybody knows this is not the same guy. And they didn't, outside of the Hex, they didn't really get to follow up on that. But again, I'm sure they are going to talk about it. Well, shoot, Darcy got sucked into the Hex, so that's going to be dope. Like, this next episode is going to be really interesting because all them people got sucked in. The only people that got away was Hayward and a couple of his, agents, and then Monica and Jimmy Woo. So why would they have another person in the place of Pietro who's clearly showing he's not Sokovian, he don't have the accent, he was fuzzy about some of their childhood. The point when she asked him about the kid that they grew up with who used to steal their boots or his boots and had a skin condition, which I heard a theory that they could be hinting at Doctor Doom, which that makes a lot of sense actually, because I'm pretty sure they're going to have Latveria be, close to or, related to Sokovia. But, and he supposedly, Dr. Doom had a skin condition. But, that could be an Easter egg that they're not going to follow up on. Marvel has done that from day one. Even though Doctor Strange did eventually come out, they mentioned Stephen Strange in The Winter Soldier in 2014 and really never explained why Hydra would really have an eye on him at that early time when this movie didn't even come out till 2 years later. So, you know what I'm trying to say? So they will definitely throw names in earlier projects, and sometimes they pay off on them, sometimes they don't. So that could easily been why they mentioned something that sounds like Doctor Doom, even though I'm sure Doctor Doom is coming. But anyway, so, he tried to brush that off. Like, he's not answering. He even said, "You're testing me." And he's like, but you know what? I get it. He's like, hey, so he's trying to be kind of nonchalant, there's the word, about the fact that he doesn't match up to being her brother, but he knows enough. See, he can say something like, I heard I got shot in the street like a chump, but then I heard you calling me, so I came back. This is my theory. This dude is going to turn out to be whoever the villain is of this show, which would be, to me, I think that would be dope, because I think Evan Peters, when you look at him, the way he's playing a character, there seems to be like a dark undertone to him, and then he's making these comments like, I'm here to disrupt, your home and be a pain to you and, create some issues between you and your husband. And again, it's jokingly like he's speaking fourth wall about how a sitcom character like that operates within a sitcom. You see what I'm trying to say? Like, that's what's so genius about the way they're writing it, because it's like he's satiring what sitcom characters do. And then he even said, isn't that why you brought me here? You see what I'm saying? It's like he's playing a game with her. Like, he's like, okay, since you have a sitcom and you creating characters, I just figured you brought me here to do that, didn't you? You know. But she's already said in a way that she didn't do that. But it's almost like she's so caught up in the moment that she's convinced herself that I guess I did bring him in. You see what I'm saying? So to me, it's all there. Listen to those conversations that the two of them have, which to some fans are like proving, yeah, that's Pietro. You see, he knows that he got shot in that Blase squad, but no, he does. I mean, he does, but who doesn't know that? You see what I'm saying? That's like, to get like deep, spiritual, religious. They say in the Bible, remember, the serpent that tempted Eve knew what God, Yahweh, the Most High, had told Adam and Eve about the fruit on the tree. You see what I'm saying? It's like the evil one knows the facts just like everybody else, and he can use them against you. So it's like he's using the little bit that whoever this is, and let's just say it's Mephisto, for example, or something like that. Nightmare. These are the rumors I've heard, which would tie it into Doctor Strange, Part 2. Let's say it's him. You see what I'm saying? He can have found out, or by his spiritual whatever entity of knowledge, cosmic, mystic, whatever, be aware of maybe even reading her mind to an extent, knowing she had a brother. So all he has to do is take on a form and then tell her, yeah, I'm him. You see what I'm saying? And just based on the little things he does know about being shot. Now somebody might say, well, what about the scene where she looked at him and he had the bullet holes in him? You know what's weird about that scene? He had a grayed out face and white eyes like Vision. So that's not really how her dead brother should look. So again, that could be her psychology. And if it is Nightmare, the enemy, the villain being Nightmare, to me that could be like some kind of subconscious. I mean, I know she's not asleep. I don't know enough about the Nightmare character to know that can he give you a daydream nightmare, you know what I'm saying? Visual, just a vision of a nightmare, instead of you having to be asleep like Freddy Krueger or some crap. But to me, my point is when that scene happens, she's just projecting in a quick moment looking at her dead brother. Which would have been dope if he would have been Aaron Taylor Johnson in that scene. That would have been freaky. That would have been jump scare. Because it'd be like, wait, now they did brought the actual MCU actor. But yeah, so I'm not reading too much into that, other than there's a lot going on with her mind. So when she looked at him in that moment, she saw her, bullet riddled dead brother. And he may have made her see that. You know what I'm trying to say? Just to try to get her out of this questioning. Because another thing about that conversation when they're sitting on the hay stacks talking, it's like he's probing her for questions. He's probing her for information. He's like, how did you do this anyway? And, so it's almost like, again, he's probing her for intel on what she's doing because he's up to no good. And making it seem like he is still her brother by brushing off these questions and making comments like, man, our parents would have loved this. Anybody could say that. That doesn't mean that's her brother. You know what I mean? He couldn't really answer. Even when he said this was worse than the costumes we had for something, our first Halloween, whatever. And she said, yeah, that's not really how I remember that. You see what I'm saying? It's like, you got to look for the clues. Like, there is a disconnect. There is something off between the two of them. And she kind of knows it, but she's not. It's like she's either still trying to be figured out, and she's distracted by having these kids, and she's distracted by Vision because she's always trying to keep him, under control. And she sees he's like doing things that which let's jump to that. He finally tricks her, and I thought that was cool how he was like, yeah, I'm doing neighborhood watch, and then that allowed him to get away. Even that little scene was kind of eerie and tense because it's like she's looking at him like, oh man, I can't let him leave. Like, why are you trying to do stuff without me? You know what I mean? There's some really good dialogue in there with a lot of subtext, and then eventually she lets him go. But it's almost like she's a little leery about him going off on his own. which to me means she's worried about him finding more. So we get to realize that most of what he's gone off and done on his own, she's been aware of it or somewhat in control of it. You know what I mean? And this feels like to her like he's a moment where he's getting away from her without, a little too much. And maybe she just feels like, I'm too distracted right now with the kids and my brother being here now. Am I really going to be able to monitor or, am I really going to be able to keep him within a certain amount of control that I want to have him in? Even when he left, he said something like, be good. And it was like a really like foreshadowing, ominous tone to the way he said that. Again, Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen are killing this show acting wise. It's just phenomenal. Now, back to Evan Peters. He's entertaining in this role, but to me, that's not Quicksilver. I mean, it just isn't. That's not the dude I want to see. But again, he's serving his purpose because it is such a jarring contrast for him to be here. And you're looking at him like this dude is literally acting like the one from Fox's X-Men right here in the MCU. Some people are saying, I've seen people say, I hope they keep him when I read the, comment sections and stuff on different videos and pages. Me, no. I don't think so. I think it's a one-off. I think, like I said, I think he's going to turn out to be either the villain, like he's taken on the form of another version of her brother. Well, he's taking on the form of her brother, but not another form of her brother, because again, only the fans see that as, hey, that's the other Quicksilver. I don't think it's even supposed to matter in the MCU, if that makes sense. Again, I keep saying this. So that's just for our benefit watching it. As far as the storyline, he's somebody faking being her brother who just happens to look to us like the guy who was Quicksilver in another franchise. I think he's going to turn out to be that. And it's just making way more sense to me watching it the second time. I mean, like I said, in a way, he's literally telling you that he's there to disrupt things and cause problems. But it's supposed to be funny because it's supposed to be a sitcom character breaking the fourth wall or being satirical about the way characters like that are written into sitcoms. The kids got to see their powers develop, which was pretty dope. The speedster and the other one has a little bit of kind of a Wanda-esque ability, a little psychic, telekinesis type, or telepathic, I should say, ability. So let's get into, lastly, Vision. The scene where he's talking to Agnes. That was, that's one I'm not going to act like I understand. Again, in a way, it's almost like, do they know what they're doing when they write this stuff? But I'm pretty sure they do. But they are really tripping the heck out of their audience. That conversation, to me, I'm going to say this. I felt like I'm now thinking that I still think there's something up to no good about her. But in that moment, we did get a little bit of an insight to the fact that when he touched her and she kind of came out of it, she recognized that he was Vision, and she asked him, aren't you an Avenger? Remember, he didn't even know what an Avenger was, so we got to learn that Wanda is kind of keeping him dumb to his greater purpose. Like, I guess, obviously he knows he has powers, and the two of them have been hiding it throughout the sitcom, but he doesn't know that he's Vision from the Avengers and had all this other stuff happen to him, apparently. And Wanda's keeping that from him. Because he was not even aware of what Agnes was talking about. But then, after she thought about it for a few minutes, she said to him, well, am I dead? And he's like, why would you say that? And she's like, because you are, So, and then she kept repeating that. So it's almost like whoever, in that moment, I think Agnes, it's one of two things. Either she was the Agnes who's from the real world, who's actually like, why am I trapped in this thing? Why is this dead dude talking to me? I really want to get out of here. You see what I'm saying? And then she started laughing maniacally. So, you know what I mean? That is like the person who's desperate and out of desperation. You know what? There's no hope. I'm trapped in this world. I'm with a dead Avenger, but yet he's alive and he's telling me I'm not dead. I mean, what is going on? You know, so she's kind of losing her mind. The other side of that is if she is in cahoots with this Pietro, then, she set that up on purpose to kind of jar him again into being more doubtful or suspicious of Wanda. Planting a seed of doubt in his mind by putting on an act. Well, not even putting on an act, because I think he did tap her out of her hex. But if, I don't know, she could have been just, like I said, she could have been trying to sow some seeds of doubt and some suspicion in him. And that would have been her point. Because once he taps her back into it, she's back in the character and she leaves. So I just think there's more to it about that with Agnes, because it's going back to when they were identifying the characters of the show as being real people outside of the hex. They never did say who she was. They never did find out. They didn't say Agnes is actually da 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 da, like they did all the other characters. I think they even did that with Herb. Oh, that was a creepy scene too. Like when he was getting the call about the neighborhood watch, about the stuff being vandalized and stolen, which of course was Quicksilver and the boys. And when he reveals to Wanda that Vision isn't even on duty, and she's looking surprised, he's like, "Is there anything I can do? You want me to fix something?" You know what I mean? It's like these people are still, but see, he may be see, these people who seem to have these moments where they're acting like, I mean, like when Agnes asked her, "Do you want me to do that scene again?" You know what I mean? Which still was one of the most awkward, weird scenes of that episode. But anyway, when they have these moments, or when Dottie, we need to see Dottie again. What happened to her? She's been gone for 2 episodes. But when she, had her little moment of breaking character, I'm thinking sometimes these people break character, it's because they're villainous and they're in on it. So they're trying to fake the funk, and every now and again they letting it slip that they're not under no hex. They're asking her, "Do you want me to fix it? 'Cause, you're in charge of everything." Or they are under the hex and they just feel like they're supposed to do whatever Wanda wants them to do. I think the producers, writers, whatever, right now they're really trying to make that so unclear to send us in both directions on theories that when they answer it's going to be like, wow, either way. But I think those are the 2 options, but there could be a third option that we haven't thought of. So that was kind of a tripped out little creepy scene or eerie scene, the way he's acting like that. Just to say, it's anything you want me to fix something. It's just like he's literally talking about, your world. You want me to just, how you do. You just be fixing stuff when you wanted to. That's kind of what he was saying to her. So, the scene with Vision after he leaves Agnes and walks into that field and walks out of the hex, dope scene. Special effects was phenomenal. Watching his body pieces ripping off and everything. And from there, again, last few minutes of the episode was some holy crap moment when the kids tell Wanda what's happening. She stops everything and starts expanding the freaking hex and starts absorbing all kind of stuff, which is just dope power. It's like, oh, I'm gonna find my man, and it's like, I'm gonna just extend this thing, cover him back up, and then he'll be right back to whole. Incredible power. That's just dope, man. Like, she's becoming one of my favorite characters. I mean, when you think about Black Widows being gone, Captain America, Iron Man, this shows me that Marvel is in good hands to continue and to make some new favorites. Because, like I said, Doctor Strange has already been kind of one of my favorites ever since Infinity War. To me, he was good in Doctor Strange, of course, but Infinity War definitely stepped him up. And Wanda has been growing on me. I really enjoyed her in Civil War. Obviously, They didn't get a whole lot. Well, I liked her in Infinity War. Yeah, she was showing her badassery in Infinity War. So, kind of the same thing. Each progressive movie, she's becoming doper. So this show for her is right on time because I definitely prefer her to Captain Marvel. Already did even when I saw Captain Marvel and after seeing Captain Marvel. Like Captain Marvel movie didn't do anything to make me like that character any more than I already liked Wanda, and neither did her activities in Endgame. Although don't get me wrong, it's not like I dislike her. I'm just saying Wanda's my woman when it comes to the MCU now that Black Widow is gone. So between those two, that's why I can't wait to see this movie. Again, from the minute they laid out the Phase 4, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness already sounded like it was going to be my most anticipated movie. Then when they announced WandaVision, and specifically said that WandaVision is going to tie into Doctor Strange, it immediately became my most anticipated show. But it was already probably going to be one or two as far as anticipation anyway because of the premise that they described for the show early on. It's really lived up to what I knew it was going to be a different, weird, trippy show, and that's exactly what it is. Just maybe, no, obviously I couldn't have predicted in what ways it would be. So that's, last thing, Monica. This was the thing I wanted to talk about. Monica made the statement about knowing about a astro engineer. Was that what it's called? Aero engineer, something. Aerospace engineer, something. Some sciencey dude that she knew who would love a chance to try to build something for them to get back into the Hex. My theory, my first instinct was as somebody from the Fantastic Four. I was thinking Ben Grimm for whatever reason. I don't really remember in the Fantastic Four who specialized in what. But it just seemed like I remember that Ben was a pilot, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm just thinking him, or again, Sue Reed or Reed Richards. Sue Richards or Reed Richards. Just someone from the Fantastic Four. But then I saw the theories. I've heard a couple people mention Hank. What the heck is his last name? But Beast from the X-Men. Hank McCoy. So I'm calling that right now. It's one or the other. It's gonna be either Hank McCoy or it's gonna be someone introducing from the Fantastic Four. Which that's nuts if they do that already. If they've already done that. I don't know if that makes sense within the what do you call it, terms of the Fox buyout, whether they would have been able to do something like that already for this show. No. What am I thinking about? Shoot, heck yeah, they could have. When they bought Fox, they can use people whenever the heck they want to. So that Fox was bought around March of March of 2019, I think. Like February, it was like February 2019 when it finished. I'm pretty sure. So I would think that was, in a sense, they knew it was probably going to go through. Maybe they were already writing this character to be in here. I don't know. But the point is, and I'm usually I dig deep into that background, contractual studio stuff. That's the kind of nerd I am, more so than actually even knowing comic storylines. I'm more interested in how these movie studios are operating, people's contracts and things like that. So, or IPs and character movie rights and things like that. But I'm pretty sure they would have been within their rights to start using Fox characters. So that's my guess, and I'm pretty much it's probably gonna. Because who else is going to be that within the MCU? In their the way they set it up, it's going to be some important introduction. So. And the MCU's been good at doing that from day one. Hawkeye's introduction in Thor, which was still crazy to me. I remember months after seeing that movie, I never even put that together, that there was a dude sitting on a perch with an arrow. It was like the movie was out on DVD, I think, and I was watching other YouTubers or something before I heard somebody point out that was Hawkeye, and I'm like, oh, duh. I just thought he was some smart alecky dude. He was like, hey, I'm starting to root for him, whatever. And look how that turned out, great. So anyway, I think, Hank McCoy or one of the Fantastic Four is who we're going to get. And hopefully that's in this next episode, debuting tomorrow. So on that note, I'm pretty sure I covered everything I wanted to. Good episode. Very good episode. Like, I guess, again, originally it felt a little slow to me when I watched it the first time. Like, I wasn't getting enough revelations or like, some new crap. But again, when I watched it again, I'm like, no, there's a lot of new crap that they're doing. I think that was, again, the brilliance of it, is all those little mundane conversations that it felt like Wanda and Peter, it's not Pietro, were having the first time I watched it. Were taken to another level when I watched it the second time, for all the subtext clues. Oh, by the way, those kids are good. Those kids were good actors, man. I hope they're able to keep them around. Although they may age those two, I think they're probably going to age them a little bit more to some teenagers, even by the end of this show, because she already made a comment like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't try to age yourself into teenagers, because, so you don't feel so bad about the dog dying. Speaking of, this is just a weird thing with me. There's something weird about that scene, the way Agnes came out of the bushes with the, oh, you know what? That's the wrong episode. I've already talked about that. Yeah, because that's prior to Peter showing up at the end. So, yeah, but those boys, I think, are going to get aged again before the series is over. And I think they're going to have a major part in the finale, because I do think they are setting up Young Avengers. So I think those two are going to get casted as some older guys. But, young enough old enough to be teenagers who can be, not some kid superheroes, in other words. But yeah, watching it the second time, it was just keeping the intrigue going. So on that alone, I really liked the episode. I think it's maybe because it created more questions than answers. It felt a little yearning for more, so it felt like a little dissatisfactory, if that makes sense. Like, some of the other episodes, you got enough answers and enough new questions to feel like, you had a good deal. This one was a little bit like, man, I don't know what's going on. But they did give us some good visual moments and some good, again, expanding of the character. Which, by the way, lastly, I was just talking about Monica already. But yeah, great casting. Tiana Paris, she's doing great. I'm really starting to like this character, and I hope there's definitely more to come from her. Hey, I'm gonna be real about it. As black dude, I don't ignore racial stuff at all, and I'm not going to. But yeah, seeing more black representation, because right now there is no black female superhero. I mean, Zoe Saldana, who's not, she's black, but she's Latina. She's green in the MCU. You know what I'm trying to say? So yeah, having some sisters, so to speak, here in the MCU is pretty dope. It's like, makes you think of Misty Knight from Luke Cage, who was badass. Loved Simone Bissick in that. I would honestly think, again, Feige and them are looking at some of those actors and considering ways to bring them in. Yeah, so there you go. Good episode. Can't wait for this next one. It's almost over. That's what's crazy. But it's been a great ride. And it was a nice, pretty long episode, too. So, I think that's about all I got as far as theories, because this was the theory episode. Like, you really, because like I said, there really weren't a lot of answers. Last thing about Hayward, something's off with him too. I like how they were hinting at that he has files that haven't been that he's hiding from people. I think those could be touching on the mutants actually. So we'll see if that's what Darcy is able to find. Who knows what Darcy's stuff is going to look like now? In fact, now that he got sucked up, right? All her technology is going to be dated now to whatever time period they're about to move into. So, hey, maybe it catches up because it could be the 2000s. You know what I mean? It could be still readable files, and they may have a nice little joke about that. Like, I don't know, floppy disks were still being used in the early 2000s. I'm pretty sure, rather than flash drives. So we'll see. That's all I got, y'all. Again, if you enjoyed this, leave some comments on some of the things I've said, and like, subscribe, share it, and let's keep it moving. See y'all soon, because episode 7, I believe it is tomorrow, and I'll probably be back with a review hopefully by Monday. It won't be as late as I was this week. Peace out.